we're looking at the Knicks Celtics game that's due to take place on Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. So I had to bring in my resident Knicks insider, Mr. I don't know if you are an insider, but I consider you to be an insider. Mr. Jonathan Macri from the Film School, also known as the Dean of the Knicks Film School. What's popping, Macri?
I'm an outsider that mingles with insiders, I guess. I don't know. I'm certainly not. If I'm on the inside of something, then no one else should want to be on the inside of that same thing.
But then again, it could be like, hey, if you want to be a millionaire, you need to mingle with millionaires, right?
Act as if, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I've made a living out of act as if. It's gone well so far. No one has discovered me as of yet, so that's a good thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, whenever I see you, like, you just partnered with Madison Square Garden for like a whole thing, right? So, like, if you're faking it till you make it, you're doing a really damn good job.
Yeah, I like faking it. Faking it is fun. It's not always fun with the Knicks, but I shouldn't complain. It's been a mostly fun season to watch. They've won more games than they've lost, which is always nice. They have some good things going on. The conversation around the team isn't always that much fun, but I do like this team. I like this team. I don't love them as much now because they're not whole. We could probably talk about that, but yeah. It's been a fun season.
So first thing I want to get to is you got the Celtics, best record in the NBA, coming off the loss against the Magic. I'm taking this game against Miami as another scheduled loss. For anyone listening, we're recording before the Heat game. Jaylen Brown's sitting out, Smart's out, Brogdon's out, Al Horford's out. It's a scheduled loss in my book. If they win, it's not going to be because it'll be because the Heat played bad instead of the Celtics played well. But then they come into the Knicks game, I'm assuming close to full health. New York versus Boston's always one of those games where there's a bit of a rivalry there. There's the locality of everything kind of brings out the best in both sides. Are you scared of the Celtics? Are you excited to see them? How do you think the Knicks are going to deal with the ball movement?
Well, they didn't deal with it very well the last time. The Knicks gave up approximately 8,000 threes against you guys last time, but that was very early in the season. I want to say, I'll look it up right now. It was definitely within the first month. I mean, you know what it is? I think I would be more excited for this game. Yeah, that was the 9th game of the season. When we gave up like 1 million threes. I think it was 27 or 28 was the exact number. I think it was the most threes you guys have ever had in a game, if I recall correctly.
I think they've beat that like 5 games in a row. Like they've done it 5 different times this season.
I believe that. Yeah, I would be more excited for this game if Mitchell Robinson was healthy. So, for anybody listening who may not be as familiar with how the Knicks season has gone, they were kind of a disaster over the first 13 games of the season, especially, culminating in a game. Sorry for that. Culminating in a game at home against the Oklahoma City Thunder, who, granted, have gone on to continue to have a very nice year and might, make the play-in, but they gave up 145 points at home to the Thunder. And this was coming off the game against you guys, where we gave up 1 million threes, a game against Atlanta, where we were up by 20, ended up losing by more than 20. And there was a game against Brooklyn in there, in which they got killed. And those 4 games were all within like a 7-game span. So then they went out west for a 5-game road trip that was supposed to be like the beginning of the end for them. And they actually went 3-2. They played pretty well. They started to discover some things. And then in the last game of that road trip, they, for the first time all year, had what everybody seems to believe is the starting lineup that they wanted to run all along, or that Tibbs wanted to run all along, which was, the mid 3, as it were, Brunson, Randall, and Barrett, and then Mitchell Robinson and Quentin Grimes. And then once they went to that starting lineup, until a week ago, basically, that starting 5 had, led them to one of the 5 best net ratings in the league. And again, we're talking about a span of like close to 2 months, or like over a month and a half. So I don't think it was like fool's gold. And then a few weeks after they went to that starting 5, they went to their shortened rotation. It was a 9-man rotation. That had some very good numbers. And then I think what happened over the course of time is 2 things. And this is why I'm not really excited about this Boston game. For one, Mitchell Robinson went down with an injury. So he went out early against Washington. He's missed the last 2 games. They've given up, I think they gave up 139 points to the Hawks, and then they gave up a bunch of points to the Raptors in their most recent game. Their defense just isn't the same without Mitch, and I understand he's only one guy, but and I don't know, maybe you guys have a similar experience with Robert Williams, although you guys have a lot of talented defenders on your team. The Knicks don't have a lot of great defenders, and I think what Mitch's absence has really revealed is like they specifically struggle their perimeter defenders to stay in front of guys, to close out, to navigate screens, and like they get away with a lot of stuff. I think they're maybe a little bit more aggressive when they know Mitch is back there in the paint. And now Mitch isn't back there, and it's Isaiah Hartenstein, who has not had a good year for the Knicks. They've still, trying to figure out how to use him. It's only game, 48 or whatever it is. And then Jericho Sims, who's like a second-year player, who's nice, but he's not Mitchell Robinson. So the other thing is I think the starters have kind of worn down a little bit because they play a lot of minutes because they're a very top-heavy team. They've kind of, Tibbs has increasingly relied on this top 6. So the 5 starters and Quickly was out the last game. He's questionable for the game tonight against Cleveland. So we don't even know if he's going to be there for the Celtics game. He's kind of the glue that holds it all together. No Mitch. And so you add it all up, and it's like this isn't the version of this team that's going into the game against Boston. It's just not the version that has played pretty good ball for, the better part of 2 months. So I don't really know what to expect. I think they're trying to figure things out right now. And if you're trying to figure things out, like the Celtics are not the best team for you to play.
They're probably the worst team for you to play at the moment. But my argument there would be they've also been very easy to break down at times defensively. Now they've gone back to that double big lineup with Al Horford, Robert Williams, and their defense has just gone to a completely new level in recent weeks because of that. They did it a little bit with Grant Williams earlier in the season, but Rob being there just adds that rim protection. Similar to what you're talking about with Mitch and how it is night and day without him. As you said, the Celtics probably have more depth in terms of defenders than what the Knicks do, which is shocking, right? Because Tibbs is a defense-first guy, and you seem to just have a bunch of attacking talent, no creators, and then where's the defense? I like Hartenstein, though. I would like to acquire Hartenstein in a mock trade, but I got killed on Instagram for that. So we're going to ignore the fact that I put out a mock trade and we're going to move on. My biggest concern, and I'll put concern in quotation marks, is you never know what Julius Randle's going to be on a night, like on a game-to-game basis. You're either going to get this Julius Randle that dragged the Knicks to the playoffs 2 years ago, or you're going to get Julius Randle that the Knicks wanted to kill 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to be in between. Now, I'm not claiming to have watched a ton of Knicks games this year. I've probably caught 8 all season. What type of Randle are we getting now? Is it kind of a happy medium?
So Randle's had an interesting year. I'll start by saying that there are things that have been consistent the entire season. His shot diet changed a lot from the last 2 years in that he's gone back to them a little bit more of late, but he largely eliminated a lot of the long twos and like all the long twos that were dropping when he made All NBA second team a couple years ago and didn't drop last year. He's mostly, kind of eliminated those from his shot diet. So that's good. He's getting easier looks. Definitely attribute that to Jalen Brunson to some extent. That's good. And his efficiency overall has gone up. His turnovers have gone down, although that's been more of a second half of the season thing. The thing that really, I think, changed over the course of the year is, one, he was displaying a lot of the very, 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 very poor tendencies defensively over the first, 20, 25 games or so that drove Knicks fans crazy last year. He's cleaned that up. Like he's not, going to be in the running for any all defense teams, but he's been better. He's been better and he's trying, and it's not as glaring, his defensive deficiencies. So that's a good thing. And then the big thing, and it really was pretty consistent for well over a month. I mean, starting, I would say, in the beginning of December and really going through into the beginning of January, like his shot making, his entire offensive repertoire reached a level that I don't think we've seen from him as an NBA player. Like even going back 2 years ago, he was putting the ball on the floor, but like in a way that was usually pretty good, like driving the rim, driving the lane, getting to the. I mean, God, he's living at the line. He's been living at the line for a while. Over the last couple weeks, that has subsided a little bit. He does dip into the old tendencies occasionally, like in the first quarter against the Raptors the other night. He had, I think, 4 turnovers. Cleaned it up as the game went on. I thought he actually played a pretty good game. But like, he's been good. He's been good. Julius Randle has not been the problem. I mean, some Knicks fans will tell you that he's still the problem and that they'll never get anywhere until they move off of him. But like, I think he was in a really nice groove, like a really special groove, like a groove that had us looking at him like, wow, he really should make the All-Star team. That's kind of subsided. Does it come back? You know, we'll see. He's also only other thing I'll mention. He's been taking a ton of threes. I haven't checked the statistic in a while, but since like the end of November up until maybe a week or two ago, he had attempted more threes than anybody in the NBA, which is wild. And you know, he hit something like a 35% clip, which is okay when you're taking that.
You're okay with volume, but I don't know if I want league leading volume at 35%.
The thing is, he needs to, like, he has to shoot it, and when he can't hesitate for the Knicks offense to function as well as it can. And like, you know, a lot of people have a lot of critiques about the Knicks offense, and some of those critiques are fair. They're 6th in the league in offense, which when you look at their talent is wild to me. But they're good. They're effective. They like do the things that they do really well. You know, they lean into their strengths. It doesn't always look pretty, but Julius is a big part of that. You know, he's been really good.
Now you said a key thing that you said was Julius is not the problem. That is you said Julius is not the problem.
I don't think he's the problem. Yeah.
But what that means to me is there is somebody who you think is the problem. You think there is a problem?
No, because, you know, Brunson has been amazing. I think of late he has gotten some criticism that he's maybe the pass shoot ratio is a little out of whack, shoots a little bit too much. I think it's, you know, I'm not worried too much about that. First of all, because he makes a ton of shots. He's incredibly efficient. He makes, you know, and he's been if you look at this team last year and you look at this team this year, by far the biggest difference is Brunson, and he is the most important addition that they've had probably in my lifetime. He's been amazing. So he's not a problem. Quentin Grimes has been great. Quickly's been great. I think RJ has underwhelmed personally this year. Am I going to pin their issues on him? No. I just think, again, right now they're a top-heavy team. They don't have a lot of really functional depth. And they're missing the biggest component to propping up their defense. And I think when you add all that up, like, that's why after what had been like, let me put it this way. For an 8-week stretch, they lost one game by double digits, or even more than that. They lost one game by more than 7 points. Won a lot of games, lost a bunch of close ones, and had one really bad performance against the Mavs at home. That was it for an 8-week stretch. And now over the last 4 games, they've had like 4 of their like worst losses of the season. So it really has been
right. That's the ebbs and flows of the season. That's just kind of how it goes. Like, and one loss can put you on a spiral anyway. The Celtics had that. They lost to the Warriors. I think it was early December, like mid-November, and then they went on their worst run of the season, losing. I think they lost like 6 on the bounce or something. I haven't got the numbers in front of me, but they lost a few big games. Then they lost back-to-back games against the Magic. Then they come back. They lost against the Magic again earlier this week, making the Magic have the best record against Boston in the entire NBA. Like,
it's wild.
You can't make this shit up. I mean, one thing I will say is the third game against the Magic, the most recent one, there was no Marcus Smart, no Malcolm Brogdon, no Robert Williams. Do you know what I mean? There was people not playing. Jason Tatum decided to just disappear in the third quarter for a while, just due to stomach issues and whatever that may be. He said there was cramping. Is what it is, you know. But The Magic have the best record now. The question I've got for you is like, where do you see New York finding success against Boston? Like, what areas of the game are you coming in? Like, we need to nail this specific aspect of the game if we want to stand a chance.
I mean, I'll go back to what we saw the last game, which is they need to figure out how to defend the three against this team. And that's going to be really hard. I think they still make, like, if you get them involved, and I know I just got done praising Julius Randle. He's still a guy that if you put him in a lot of actions, screening actions up on the 3-point line, like and then the fact that the Celtics have like everybody could shoot who they put on the floor, he often will get confused and make the wrong decision. So they have to figure out how they're defending the three. But like, it's not only him. Like RJ, I think has been my biggest gripe with RJ this year is I think he, for the second year in a row, has regressed defensively to the point where I don't know how else to say. He's not a good defender. He's just a bad defender. And he is not an asset on that end, and he can be exploited. And offensive players, I think, too often do not feel him. And when you look at him, you look at a guy who's a 6'6", 6'7" wing, whatever he is. He's in good shape, the whole thing. He looks like he should be a good defender. That's not what he is. But again, I don't want to pin the blame all on either of them because, like, we played the Raptors the other day, and like Siakam, I think it was, or maybe it might have even been Achua, I don't know, sets a high screen for Van Vliet, and it's Quentin Grimes is guarding Van Vliet, and Quentin Grimes has been, I would argue, their best defender all year. Like, inexplicably goes under the screen. Now Van Vliet missed a shot, but like that wasn't the only time that happened that game. Like they're I think collectively they've just kind of been thrown off, especially by Mitch's injury. If they don't guard the three, they're not going to stand a chance in this game. Offensively, like, I'm actually not that worried. They're in a nice groove the last couple of games offensively. They have 27 and 30 assists the last two games after having a really sludgy offensive game against the Wizards. So they've been passing it pretty well. They've been nailing their threes the last couple of games.
You've also got a few guys hitting quite a good clip on mid ranges, and with the Celtics, they like to kind of run like 4 guys switch, 1 guy drops. And teams with mid range guys have generally found little pockets to kind of keep things close.
That's dicey though, because like,
yeah, always
it is, because like I don't like, they have Brunson. Brunson's yes, Brunson is a good mid-range guy, but like you could tell when Brunson is getting to his spots where it's the mid-rangers that he wants to take, and you could tell when it's teams getting him and forcing him into taking mid-rangers that are maybe not in his wheelhouse. And I like, for me, the Knicks offense is very simple. It comes down to just, are they moving the ball enough? Are the players moving? Are they moving? And they get into these stretches where they don't move the ball enough. And so they need to do that. They've gotten around those stretches this year because Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle have been so good at just hitting, tough shots. And both of those guys have done a lot of that this year. And to his credit, RJ, and he gets downhill, and he when he gets going downhill, he does make a lot of good maybe not contested shots, but like he does make tough shots on drives. So like they have those 3 guys. Quickly's been a really good offensive player. The only other thing I'll mention, and this has been again sort of an issue of late, is when Randall and Brunson both sit, and they usually do both sit at some point in each half, the Knicks just have an incredibly difficult time scoring. And those units are usually it's usually RJ and Quickly, supported by Hartenstein, McBride, and now that he's back, Obi Toppin. And like McBride, really nice defensive player, if undersized, not a threat at all offensively. He's just not. Hartenstein, I haven't updated the numbers in like a week, but like he's shooting like 35% from the field or something like that over the last 2 months. He's just, really fallen.
It's just not there, right?
If you listen to a lot of Knicks fans, they'll tell you that Tom Thibodeau is just grossly misusing him, which I don't necessarily think is wrong. He is not being used in the same way as he was used with LA last year. but LA also has they have different personnel in their backup unit than the Knicks do. In any case, so yeah, Hartenstein's kind of been relegated to a 0. And Obi just had a really nice game. It's his first nice game. It was his first nice game in about 2 months. So we'll see if he can contribute as well. But yeah, it's just for where the Knicks are at right now, they kind of need to play perfectly almost. Not hit every shot, but they can't really have any self-inflicted errors for them to beat good teams. And they've had self-inflicted errors over the last week.
So I've got 2 quick ones for you because I know you're pressed for time. So I want to play a very quick game called Kick and Nick. And what we do on this game is we choose one member of the rotation to kick out of the rotation because they're going to be the target for the Celtics. So Jonathan Macri, you are tasked now with kicking the Nick.
The target for the Celtics.
I'm also proud of the alliteration here as well.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, the easy answer is Hartenstein. People have wanted to get him out of the rotation for 2 months.
This is just for the Celtics game, though. It's specific. Who's the biggest weak point that Boston will look to attack?
Yeah, it's not about looking to it. Hartenstein. I think it's Hartenstein, and I think it's Hartenstein because he offers nothing, or he has offered very little on the defensive glass this year. He stopped offensive rebounding, which was a strength of his early on, and hasn't really been of late. Offensively, like we talked about, he's not great, and his presence in the rotation is ostensibly the thing that is blocking Obi Toppin from getting more minutes. And I think, it'd be nice against a team like the Celtics. Like, I'm kind of intrigued by the idea of them maybe doing a lot more switching on defense. And if you have Obi in there with Julius and maybe go big again, it depends on if Quickly is going to be able to go. But I think that would be as good a chance to beat the Celtics as anything. And I really don't feel like Hartenstein's giving me anything right now. So I would kick Hartenstein out. This
next game is based on the Mad Libs. Do you remember Mad Libs?
Of course.
So we're gonna go libs on tips. And what we want to know now is I'm sticking with the alliteration all the way. It's dad joke time. What I want to know now is what the hell is going on with Cam Reddish, man? Do you agree with what Tibbs has done by benching him? Do you think he had something to offer? Do you think there's something could you have developed him? Could he have been a good piece for you? Is he going to another team? What's going on with Reddish?
Well, he's never playing for this team again. I can tell you that much. That's you could write that in pen. No, I think it was. I mean, yeah, sure. If you want to blame Tibbs for that, I think a lot of people do. I think there's more going on than maybe has been made out. I do not think it was a great fit. I don't think the way Cam perhaps responded to some challenges and adversity this season, I don't know if that sat well with some of the parties that be. And it is not an accident that he is the only Knick that has not seen the court since the last game he played, which was a home game against Dallas, in which he appeared to not want to be on the basketball court with his teammates. They'll trade him. I don't know if they're going to wind up trading him for a second or a couple seconds, or if they're going to be able to use his salary to acquire a player that actually helps their team. But they will move on from him in short order. And it was absolutely a failed experiment. It was not a great look for the front office to acquire him in the first place. They were never on the same page with Thibodeau. So yeah, it's just but I for anybody who is listening to this and is like, wow, the Knicks are insane. They wasted a guy who was the former 10th pick in the draft. I've said this a few times. Any team in the NBA could have, since the summer, could have had Cam Reddish for a song, and nobody wants to touch him. No one, absolutely no one. The Lakers just made the trade. They gave up 3 second-round picks for Rui Hachimura.
I saw you tweet this out.
Yeah, and I believe Mark Stein, I think it was Stein that reported like I think I'm fairly certain the Knicks would have done Cam for 2 of those seconds. And the Lakers would rather give up a third second rounder for Hachimura, who's a guy taking one spot ahead of Cam 3 or whatever it was, 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago. Anybody can have Cam, for a couple of seconds.
And now the final segment is called Marvelous Macri. And this is where I just want, like, for anyone that's watching this, like, I know that this is a new show, but it's on a YouTube channel that we've been building for a while. Anyone that doesn't know Macri, he is the biggest Zach Lowe fan that exists in the entire universe. And recently, I wouldn't say, a few months back at this point, you got to sit down and chew the fat with Zach Lowe for probably close to an hour, right?
I think I had him for like 25 minutes, half hour. It was great though.
I just assume there's always off-air talk. I always assume there's off-air talk. How was that for you, man? Like, not just I don't care about how the actual conversation went. I care about, like, for you personally, getting to sit down and chop it up with Zach. Like, how was that for you, knowing that you've kind of been like, this guy shaped the way you cover the Knicks?
It was amazing. Yeah, it was cool because like I had reached out to him, like I got Mike Breen on for the 300th episode of the pod. I got Jeff Van Gundy on for the 400th. And I'm like, let me try to do one more big one for the 500th. And I tried to get Zach for 500, and it didn't exactly land on 500 because he couldn't get, do the spot until like a few episodes after. But yeah, it was cool because it was one of those moments where it's like, I talked to Zach Lowe on a podcast about basketball. I can die in peace, like that type of thing.
I can die in peace.
Yeah, it was really cool. I mean, I'd love the Knicks to win a championship before I die. That would be nice too. But yeah, it was great. It was really kind of him to do it and spend the time and answer whatever ridiculous questions I had for him. But yeah, he's the best, and I also know he's a dad. I know how busy he is, and I know to give 25 minutes is. I know how big of at least I can imagine how big of a deal it is for him to do that, and because I'm sure there's 8,000 people that ask him for 25 minutes, and that he gave it to me was just really. Did he know? Did he know how, like, that you were the Zach Lowe man? Like, was he aware of? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean,
did he leave knowing?
I hope so. I hope I made it very clear to him that I was a huge fan and that I think very highly of him. But yeah, Zach's the best, man. Zach's the best.
You see, so I feel that way when I talk with you, and I feel that way. Seriously, though, man. Seriously,
really
we've been doing this a long time.
Ridiculous and kind of you.
Unkind or kind?
Kind.
I was like, what did I say, man? What did I say? Right. I know you're busy. I know that you're currently doing this from a classroom at work, educating the minds of the next generation. So I'm going to let you go.
I appreciate you having me on.
What I do want to know before you go is give me a prediction of a score.
Oh, God. It's not going to be a good one.
I don't know. What team? I mean, this is Celtics fans watching this.
Celtics by 10.
By 10?
Yeah. I don't know what the actual score is going to be, but I'll say Celtics by 10.
That's a big spread, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's really hard for them to put together a complete game right now. And again, I think I don't know that there are a lot of teams right now that are good matchups for the Knicks. I don't think the Celtics are a particularly good matchup for them. So, yeah, I mean, we did predictions on our pod last night, and I had the first. I went first, followed by Jeremy, and I took 1 and 2 for the week. We're playing the Cavs tonight, and then the Celtics, and then the Nets, which Durant will be out for. And I picked that they'll go 1 and 2 for the week. And I think this is the game that I would say is the least likely game that they are going to win.
Which means it's probably the one they're going to win.
Last thing I'll say, if I want to try to end on a high note for the Knicks, is like, this team has surprised us, Knicks fans, a bunch of times this year. We thought the season was over when they were going on that West Coast trip. they won the first 2 games in Denver and in Utah on a back-to-back, 2 places that they never win. Granted, Jokic was out for the Denver game, but still, it was a nice win. We thought the season was over after they got blown out at home by the Mavs, and they came back and they won 8 in a row after that game, which was insane. We thought the season was over after they had 2 of the most devastating last-second losses you could ever imagine seeing against the Bulls and the Mavs again, this time on the road. And then they came back after that and they won 7 out of 8 games. It's like this team they do have real character. They do have real talent. They know how they have to play to win. They just don't always do it. And again, they're not whole right now. I would love for them to surprise me again. I would love for them to have one more surprise in store. We'll see.
Zach LaVine would be the nice surprise. Right, we'll leave it there.
Please, no. I don't want any part of Zach LaVine.
I just want to put it out there that Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, when playing together, should cook almost every team. So I'm feeling confident, but I've been proven wrong many a time before, and I'll be proven wrong many a time again. Macri, man, I want to be on your pre-game show. I think we're recording tomorrow. So
awesome! Well. Yes, with Andrew. Awesome, good stuff.
With Andrew, so I'll be making an appearance over on the Knicks Film School. You scratch my back, I scratch yours.
Thank you.
And thank you. It's a big platform, sponsored by Madison Square Garden. Just so you know,
we're sponsored by a lot of things. I don't know what's what anymore.
Okay, no need to rub it in. I'm only joking.
Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it.